Before I go through the questions, I want to emphasize one of the key aspects is about schools developing a sense of moral purpose. Now, moral purpose isn't a sort of a wishy-washy way of looking at things. It's more about how you clarify the purpose of the school, ensuring that the achievements and learning students is expressed as moral purpose, and that that's at the center of everything that you do as a teacher and that your school does. And certainly as a leader, that's what I would be trying to develop within a core team. The other point that I would like to emphasize is that, many schools and many teachers find themselves besieged, bogged down with with all of the extra add-on and bureaucracy that goes with schools. So I believe that having this sort of cohesive approach helps you see through the mist and find your route, and will help you develop the key characteristics and skills that you will need to ensure that you carry on in the right way, and as Chris emphasized, not becoming obsolete. So how does this actually happen? Well, the first question there, and I would suggest that all of these questions you can answer and think about for yourself, and then these are the questions that you should be asking of the interviewer. So if I'm a principal and I'm faced with you as a candidate for my school, I'm going to be looking for what's in your character. What is going to prove to me that you can unleash greatness? And I tell you now, if somebody came at me with these questions in an interview, then I would be very impressed by that. Now, you could argue, well, that's because, this is an area that I'm passionate about, which is true. But I spent 40 years in education and I'm still learning on a daily basis. And this article does sum up many of the key areas. So it would certainly impress me. But you think about it, if I'm a head or a leader and I'm not really as up to date as the candidate who has been carrying out their own research and learning through, for example, the Derby course, I'm going to want to learn from you. And if you're asking these sort of questions and I don't really know the answers, as a learning head, I should be impressed by that. If I'm not, and if it appears to you as a candidate that gets the backup of the principal, then I would suggest that you move on swiftly and find a school where you can really unleash your potential. So that's the context. Let's just run through a few of these questions. So does your school's version of moral purpose link aspiration to action? Because a key thing here is it's all well and good for us to say, well, we want to bring out holistic education and we want to help every child achieve their potential and move forward and become a responsible member of working society. I would actually say on that I don't agree with that. I don't think it's about helping kids become responsible members of a working society. We're long past that. It should be about helping each person find their purpose in life. Okay, but once we've worked out what the theory is, we need to link that to specific action, and the school should be able to tell you what those action points are. And if they can't, then again, I think that you should ask deeper, more penetrating questions, and I think you should make your mind up about looking at other schools who are up to date and moving forward and want to empower you as an educator. So second one, does your school's version of moral purpose reflect the values of students, parents, and the community? And I believe in this day and age that this is a key point. It's not the school dictating the terms. It's got to be a partnership genuinely between the school and home and the community. So look for schools that are working in that way and use your developing knowledge from the course to help you find examples from your own work that you can share with the school. Is your school's version of moral purpose widely accepted by the whole school staff? Again, I think that's a really good question. Excuse me, it's no good just having a particular direction if nobody else on the staff buys into that. Have a think about, does that apply in your school or not? in your school now? Is there a climate of development? Can people ask questions without risks? So, does your school staff understand the importance of the instructional core, both strategically and operationally? So every school should have at its core a focus on teaching and learning. Find out whether a school has that. Are the teaching practices employed in the school well specified, consistently applied, and directly applicable to the learning needs of your students? Speaks for itself. Is the whole staff clear about the non-negotiables in your school, and are you actively working on them? Again, I think that's the key question. Every school, I believe, should have some core non-negotiables. Everybody buys into it. Everybody's emphasizing that on a daily basis. And again, the sort of research and course you're going to be doing or thinking of doing will help you in those directions. Excuse me. Is there a distinction between your school's maintenance and development functions, particularly the purposes, funding, and responsibilities involved? When you read the paper, you'll see there's a great diagram in there which separates off two aspects of running a school. One is the daily management and structures and calendar and daily life of the school. The other one is about school development and leadership. And I believe those two should be separate. That same diagram I adapted and used 20 years ago in schools in the UK, directly in partnership with Cambridge, to make sure that everybody can be part of development. So when you are in a development group, everybody leaves their rank at the door. And I believe today that's equally true. And it's great to see it in this particular article. So that's the question which is worth asking the school. Is there a school improvement team in your school, and how do they operate? So that ties in directly with the last question. Is there some sort of mechanism which the school is using to free up people, both in terms of time and liberating opportunities where they can share best practice? And again, that comes back to the point made earlier by Martin, where he was talking about, when you do have the operations of the opportunity to look at and share best practice, that's great for all of us. Okay, just a few more to go. Does the core story describe the direction a school is moving in and what success will look like, the desired state? I mentioned earlier about you telling your story and being clear on that. It's just as important that the school can tell you its story. And if they can't be clear about that, then don't be there. Life is too short to be working in schools that don't allow you to really impact. So take my word for it. Find schools that can leverage your qualifications and your extra professional development to make sure that can happen for you. And finally, does your school staff regularly engage in instructional rounds and appreciate that the observations focus on description, not evaluation or judgment? Well, when you read the article, you'll see how that ties in. But for me, these days, when we're observing other teachers and sharing that, and it should happen collaboratively, we should focus on the description, what we see as really good practice taking place in a classroom, what techniques, what habits is a teacher using that I can share and develop, and that becomes really important.